Life. Um, it's full power. Even even if it can be dull sometimes, this is it's not an easy world. These physical bodies, they get old and sick. We have to eat to live and have shelter and all these obligations of family and society. And we oftentimes have to domesticate ourselves to make ends meet for all those things. And there's war, there's all kinds of uh, stresses and pains that go along with this journey through the human life. And if you look at past history of humans, it's usually been a lot worse, even um, where starvation was a much more real risk, and war was a sport of kings, and they came through and killed all the men and took the women as wives. And it's dark. Um, Somehow we have sort of this idea that life should be happy and everything should be perfect. Um, and yep, that's not the reality. And the problem with that idea is that it gets us to judge our life of like, okay, this is a happy thing, this is a sad thing. I'm going to suffer the sad things and celebrate the happy things, and ruminate about the sad things, and even feel judged to like, oh, this happened. It's like it's either shows that there's not a God, or that He's punishing you. But if you talk to people about their lives, you find that some of their greatest breakthroughs and lessons and evolutions in life happened during the tough times. Very few people go for a week in Club Med in a tropical location and come back and go, "Wow, that was transformative. I learned so much." Sometimes it's crashing your car that makes you quit drinking. Um, so, what if the hard places in life were more like a challenge? Um, I'm a rock climber, and rock climbing, especially outdoors, long routes and things, it's an adventure. It usually involves fearful passages, and um, sometimes you have to put your hands in cracks so hard that maybe it scrapes the skin off your hands. It hurts, and it could be hot or cold, and you're stuck in painful situations. Sometimes you spend the night someplace where you weren't prepared, and yet we do this for fun. It costs money to go on a trip and do this. We embrace it because we're not resisting the pain. And Swami Muktananda, I heard him once say that our resistance to our experience is most of our suffering. Our resistance to our experience is most of our suffering. That doesn't mean you can't take action to avoid things that are going to cause you suffering. Um, but don't suffer about your pain. And projecting a potential future pain, like, oh, if I fall in love, I might get a broken heart, or, um, like so many different things that we can worry about, then we're suffering in the present for something that may or may not even happen. And if it does happen, we have to suffer and have pain during that time too. So the more you can accept that life is a contrasting spectrum of ups and downs and joy and sadness, of tragedy and ecstasy, then you can embrace all of it, and it doesn't threaten you because you know that that's just part of the story. When we go to a movie, there's usually a story, and the story is almost never, oh, here's the hero of the story. He's a happy guy. Only happy stuff happened to him, and then he died peacefully. That's not a story, and it doesn't show transformation. Um, I think life is a hall of mirrors, where um, what we is within us that we need to learn from and benefit from is reflected back to us. It could be stuff from a previous life, it's just a seed within us, but it's within us, and experiencing it here um, helps us evolve. And it doesn't mean something bad happens, it means you did something bad in the past life. Sometimes our pain can even just give us compassion for other people suffering, or a chance to go through suffering in a better way than we had before. Um, Life is a hall of mirrors. So own it, accept it, and realize that it's going to have its passages, and you're going to be better off if you accept working through those passages. Know that your soul level is always intact and never damaged um, and permanently wounded by anything that happens. So you can always get back to yourself if you make that a priority and make that your faith. You could be okay. There's all this inequality between people in life. Some people are born to horrible families, some to great families, some rich, some poor, some talented and intelligent, some handicapped and limited, and uh, there's cultural pains that go along with being born in certain places that are uptight. Um, let's not. It's noble to try and uh, help inequality, but also know that we each have a unique path and story in this life, and yours is going to be yours, and it's not a blessing or a curse. It's the reflection for you to evolve with, and so accept yourself the way you are. The way you are is just perfect. You're at the place life has taken you, and life is going to take you further. It's said by those who understand reincarnation that all the saints used to be sinners, and the sinners will one day be saints. I think we all make it in time, and we all go through being in power and in weakness, in riches and poverty, and um, being in riches and power is considerably more dangerous. So when we look, it's like, well, I should be king, or I want to be king. It's like the king is making life, death decisions for people, and has all this wealth that they have to make proper use of. You can rack up some challenging energy for you to work out later if you have a bunch of power to sleep with whoever you want, or buy whatever you want, or have life or death or business power over people. So when you look at suicides and rehab and drug abuse and psychological suffering, and it's clear that it afflicts the rich and famous as well as the poor. So your story doesn't have to be a dramatic, a special story. You know, who you are can be as much how you relate to life and how you relate to all the people in your life, more so than what you did for a living. And what you did for a living brings you in contact with life and in contact with people. So, you know, there's been people. I remember when I live in Yosemite National Park, and it cost money to get in there. There was a person that their whole job for 30 years was just taking the money from the line of cars coming in the park. When that person died, there was an outpouring of love and appreciation because he greeted everyone with such love. He really had a beautiful mission, even in a job that didn't take any particular training or qualifications. So be careful of the way this society makes you validate your life by your profession and makes you compare yourself with other people based on these what you do. I'm in India right now. This is a cave cast outside a medication cave near the Ganges. All the people you hear screaming are rafters going by. They really, the Indians love to cut loose. And in India, they really honor the elderly. And I just want to put it out there because there's all this emphasis on the money you make and what you do for a living, and not much emphasis on wisdom or life experience. Our culture doesn't hold a lot of love and respect for old people. And here in India, the old people are your mom and dad. You take care of them at home. It's an extended family situation a lot of times. It's more common to have like assisted living or elderly people living on their own, or different situations in the West. And that can be okay, but just remember, someday you're going to be old. People use this old as like an insult. He's an old man. It's like, you're getting there. Your beauty will not last forever. And someday you won't be capable of doing what you can do when you're young. So it's the duty of the strong and the young to respectfully hold some place for old people. And some old people even lose their minds a bit, dementia, Alzheimer's, to some degree or another. I just want to suggest we hold some space for that too. How we live our lives in relationship to those that are different than us, whether it be a different race, a different age, a different sex, is a big part of our growth and evolution. Put your heart and compassion first. So, sum it up. Life is this adventure. And within adventure, there's fun times and hard times, and overcoming and growing through the challenges is how we evolve. And it's the adventure we're going through, like it or not. So best to embrace it and not suffer over the pains that are an inevitable part of this journey. And being more free because of that, you have more a way of forming intentions for growth and experience, abundance, the things that you want to call in your life. You have more power to do that when you're whole and not in a state of suffering the past and the future. In another video I mentioned I did a ceremony once. I wanted to kind of know what was ahead, and the medicine told me life is a poem. This is the poetry of life, and you read it one line at a time, and you have to get the meaning and the feeling from each of those lines. If you got the last line, how the poem ends, before you read all the lines, it wouldn't have the same meaning. So life is a path, and breadcrumbs are left to us by the universe. Turns in the path, and follow them with courage and love. I wish you a great life. Remember to make spirituality of some kind, opening your heart, quieting your mind, a part of your life, because the other really important aspect of life is Happiness is within you. I've met people that lived under a tarp or a little cave or a mud hut and with almost no money, hardly any clothes. They were some of the happiest people I've met because they cultivated peace and love within themselves. So um, uh, don't think if I just had this and I just had this, then I would be happy. Make cleaning up your heart and your mind, your inner world, a part of the adventure of your life, and life will speak back to you. And wherever you're at, love the nature and place around you. It's my experience. I always try and live in beautiful natural places if I can. That if you love life around you, it loves you back. And that goes for people, and if you're not clingy and trying to get something out of it. And it goes for nature and places. Be in harmony with life, be in harmony with nature, and by cultivating this non-resistance to life, by cultivating your communion with life and nature, life starts revealing its synchronicity and magic to you. There's no real accidents. And you may not be able to think of the reason this happened or why something took place, but sometimes you'll catch, like a poem, you get the feeling from it, or there is some meaning to it, or it makes sense if you look how everything in life has taken you to the point where you're at now and prepared you for what you're doing right now. So make a sport of life, make a game of it, make a joy and a poetry of life, and be blessed with life.